communities. About a week ago or so, I had a meeting with representatives from those organizations. Lorelei Oviatt and Craig Pope joined us along with Mr. Alsop, and I thought we had a good discussion. And first of all, the folks that came up, they're largely representing communities from the southern part of our county, but we have disadvantaged communities throughout the county, some that you might not think about, communities like Boron and Mojave, unincorporated areas in the Taft area, et cetera. And so Kern County is largely disadvantaged, I believe, when you look countywide. And so first of all, I appreciate very much the thanks that we received from the folks that spoke. That is largely due to the efforts of Ms. Oviatt, Mr. Pope, Mr. Alsop, and other members of our staff that have been meeting and listening and trying to be collaborative as far as finding solutions. I thought Mr. Pope's presentation that he made to us last week, they gave us some history on Kern County, the fact that we are a group of communities that were created through larger events that were occurring in American history, things like the Gold Rush, the Dust Bowl, the oil boom. Those caused a lot of communities in Kern County and hundreds of thousands of people to move to Kern County in response to those things that were happening in our nation's history. And so that's left us with communities that have some major infrastructure needs because of the lack of standards back then, at least the lack of standards as compared to today. But in the course of that meeting, I think what we came up with from the leadership from Ms. Oviatt and Mr. Pope is kind of a plan for us moving forward to identify areas of the county where we have needs and then try to get, I guess for lack of a better explanation, some environmental work done on those to get those projects shovel ready, like we've done such a good job in doing with some of our road projects. I think the way in which we've been successful in this community between the city of Bakersfield and the county and getting grant funds to do road infrastructure is because we've done the work and we've had those projects on the shelf and ready to go. And so Ms. Oviatt specifically suggested kind of a plan. So I'm going to put you on the spot to give this board and the public an idea of what you plan to do moving forward so we can be ready when funds do become available from federal sources or state sources to go out and capture those dollars, because our traditional revenue streams are not nearly enough for us to address all the needs in the county. And so we do have to depend on grants and special pots of money that we can go out and be competitive for and seize those when possible. So Ms. Oviatt.
Thank you. Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Planning and Natural Resources. Thank you, Supervisor Scribner. So it's actually a two-step process. The first step, we're releasing a request for proposal for the general plan update. Tulare County actually did what's called an SB 228 Disadvantaged Community Report. So this would be everything from Inyo Kern, Kern River Valley, Boron, Lost Hills, and they actually dug into the picture of the existing conditions. What do we need for water? What do they need for sewer? Who is providing those things? What are their issues? What's the roads? It's actually required by the legislature, but I was very impressed with this report. It's a little tough because we don't have enough money to fix everything. But if we don't know what the problem is, how can we prioritize? You hear every day, every Tuesday, people come forward and they bring a piece of the picture. Then we find out that there's lots of other work going on through self-help, through USDA. We need a bigger picture so that we can look and see how to best manage the resources that are being brought forward and offered by your board. So we're going to do that report. Then working with the communities, we want to come forward and working with Mr. Pope and other departments, a list of priority projects. In other words, the planning department through the process has identified 3 categories. Parks and libraries is one category, sewer and water is another category, and then infrastructure, roadways, walkability. We want to identify the top 10 projects through a robust public discussion to bring to your board. And then we want to do the environmental on the top 5. That way we're shovel ready. When we seek money, when we have propositions come down, we would be ready and we will not be waiting. We identified that Alameda County gets a lot of these propositions. So I went to find out why. It's because every quarter they have Stanford interns who come and do this kinds of grant work. And while we don't have Stanford, we have hardworking county employees who are ready and willing. We just have to get ahead of the curve. We can't be asking for the money and then doing the environmental and doing the design work and trying to figure out a project. So this is something that we've been working with the communities on. This will involve going out in workshops and working on, maybe finishing projects, for example, should be a first priority. We've started projects with CBDG money, or the community has brought forward a project, rather than starting a new project. And then on the other hand, we need to look at where our infrastructure could be fixed easily now, but if we put it off, it'll be very, very expensive in the coming years. So that's the idea that we've been working on, and I appreciate the opportunity to present it to your board.
I appreciate your leadership, and Mr. Pope, I know you're a big talker, so come on up. We want to hear from you.
Supervisor Scribner, I think what we're doing and we're looking at here is the ability to expand the role we've had. We've been very, very successful in getting grants through the normal transportation funding. With Public Works, we got a bigger arena in front of us. With what Lorelei is proposing, we even open up the door with even more channels. We're going to utilize Yolanda Alcantara of our office, who's been very, very successful, and we're going to be going after more grants.
I greatly appreciate the strategy that you two have laid out, and I'm excited about I think what's going to open up a lot of opportunities for us, and with the support and cooperation of groups that are in our communities throughout Kern County, I think we can be successful. We had some very, very notable success in going after ATP money, the transportation dollars to do $1 million sidewalk project, for instance, in Mojave. Had great success in going after a grant for Lamont, and I think Supervisor Perez, you could remind us of what that project was. But I know that we scored very, very high on that effort statewide. I want to say that Mojave project was #1 or close to it, maybe in top 3 in the state, and that was because of the input and support that we received from folks in the community that wrote letters, that participated in workshops, et cetera. That helps us to score very high, and so we need to continue to engage the public so we can have continued success. And you two, along with a lot of our other county department heads and the CAO's office are doing a marvelous job for us. We have huge challenges in Kern County, but I think that because of the talent of our people and the engagement of folks in our community, we're going to continue to see great success. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Could you guys stay there for just a second?
Oh, yes.
I just want to commend you again for your help, both of you, Chief Marshal, the folks in the CAO's office. It's great to see us be able to respond and perform and eliminate the hurdles that are replete throughout California. Here in Kern County, we eliminate those hurdles, and I just want to give you all one more pat on the back for that. Mr. Pope, one of the questions that has been raised to me, as you might imagine, there's a lot of chatter, and the press was all over us yesterday about this, but one of the questions raised to me was, does our plan provide for improving the infrastructure, for example, from the fulfillment center on Merle Haggard out to I-5, the straight path out to I-5, that road is in need of some improvement with increased traffic flow and whatnot. So what can you tell us about what our strategy is to make sure that our infrastructure is keeping pace with this expansion of our economy?
Mr. Chairman, the project has responsibility for improving right around its perimeter. But we are opening discussions with the City of Shafter, City of Bakersfield, Kern COG, about making sure we go all the way out. Shafter has a vision. We want to see if that's the vision that we all want to share in, or whether we need to come up with something else. But we recognize that need, and we are going to be working towards that goal also. So we are looking at the big picture. We are looking at the future. We're always doing traffic modeling, and we take things like this into consideration when we do the modeling.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Chairman Maggard, if I may, one of the unsung heroes in all of this are the developers. As you know, you can go out right now and see that part of the road has already been built by another developer out there. And I just can't say enough about the relationship that the county has with property owners and developers. They're very proactive. They're putting in facilities, they're putting in infrastructure ahead of time, and most of all, they're coming to us to share their ideas about what can happen. And I think Mr. Pope would agree that part of many of the solutions that we've come up with has been because developers, this is their money, but they've come forward and said, if we do this, what would it look like? How could it work? What could we do in this area? And so this has taken many years. What's happening around the airport is not an overnight success, it's a long-term relationship. And so I wanted to make sure they knew how much our departments, I'll speak for Mr. Pope since I'm more loquacious, how much we do appreciate that dialogue, and I know that your board also hears from them, but there are many, many conversations you never hear, you just see the results. Thank you.
Well, our hats off to you guys. This is good news for everyone in Kern County, everyone, so thank you. Okay. We'll come back to the board now, and our final action to close and adopt this budget adoption process is for us to make four findings in our motion. Those findings. Is there any discussion from my colleagues before we? Okay, let me set this up then. Thank you. The motion needs to contain this language: to close the public hearing, to adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 2018-19 budgets for County of Kern and reaffirmation and declaration of fiscal emergency. Then to adopt the resolution approving the fiscal year 2018-2019 employers training resource and community development grant programs. And finally, adopt a resolution amending salary ordinance by reference to amend Appendix B as in Baker, summary of position addition deletions of the fiscal year 2018-19 recommended budget, and refer to the Human Resources Department to amend the departmental positions and salary schedule. Is there a motion to proceed in that fashion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any other comments? Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
I need to say thank you for our staff for the tremendous job you've done to help us get through this process. Every year we try to improve the transparency and the engagement of the public, and we just want to commend you. You've served us and the taxpayers of Kern County very well, and I commend my colleagues as well. We have one other item, and that is the public comment portion of our meeting. I delayed that from the beginning so we could get through all the business of the day. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak to us about any matters that are not otherwise on our agenda this morning? Thank you. I'm going to close that opportunity then, and then come back to the board. Since this is budget adoption day, we do not have an afternoon session, so we have some matters to take care of in closed session, but we will not be reconvening at 2 p.m. this afternoon. It is a different day because of the budget adoption process. So thank you and the public for being here with us today. Colleagues, I would entertain a motion for us to adjourn to closed session.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much. With that objection so ordered. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.